Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of BTTH Rebirth of Emperor Yang episode number 95 based on novel. So let's start. As earlier, when Xiao Yan first saw the old man in gold robe, he already found something in his heart. After all, Xiao Yan's body also contains some dragon blood. However, the familiar blood breath of the dragon people in front of him will make him immediately aware of each other's identity. Of course, it may also be because Xiao Yan consumed the power of the dragon phoenix's blood in his body, which led to Xiao Yan's vague perception of the old man at the moment. Therefore, he could not figure out the identity of the old man in his heart. Similarly, the old man in gold robe noticed the blood of the dragon phoenix in Xiao Yan's body at the first sight, and he was also able to determine that there was indeed a dragon blood in Xiao Yan's body. After determining the identity of the old man, Xiao Yan couldn't help feeling warm in his heart. This feeling was like seeing his relatives. Xiao Yan has always had a good impression on the ancient dragons of Taishu. Especially when he thinks of Xian, he will have a sense of pity in his heart. But then, just as the smile on Xiao Yan's face just appeared, he seemed to think of something in his heart. In a moment, the smile just rising on his cheek was swept away, but he looked at the old man in gold robe with a little fear. It was not until now that Xiao Yan realized that this was not the mainland of fighting spirit. Although the old man in gold robe in front of him was from the Taishu ancient dragon family, they had never met. Who knows if the old man in gold robe in front of him would recognize that the blood in his body is not the ordinary dragon blood, but the most powerful dragon phoenix blood in the dragon blood. Once he recognized it, if he wants to take it back, doesn't Xiao Yang want to be an enemy with him? Not to mention the benefits of Long Huang's blood to Xiao Yang, but just because it was given to him by Xian, Xiao Yang won't let it be taken away easily. If the old man in front of him really wants to take away the Long Huang's blood by force, Xiao Yang will do everything today and will definitely let the other party leave something. However, just when Xiao Yang's thoughts were numb, the old man in gold robe opposite seemed to see the concerns in Xiao Yang's heart. He immediately smiled and said, "Ha ha ha, boy, do you look down on me so much? Do you think I'm a pedantic person like the miscellaneous hairy birds of the Tianyao Huang family? I'm too lazy to take back this blood as long as you don't forcibly kill my people and rob them." The words fell, but the old man's eyes narrowed slightly. He looked at Xiao Yang with deep meaning in his eyes. Hearing the speech, Xiao Yang couldn't help grinning at the corners of his mouth. He smiled awkwardly and looked up at the old man in gold robe. He was helpless. Who made the other party so powerful? And he was a member of the Taishu ancient dragon family. Coupled with the blood power in his body, it was unusual. Who knows if he would be interested in seeing money? It would be strange if he didn't think much. Noticing the old man in gold robe's eyes, Xiao Yang was stunned. But before Xiao Yang could speak, the old man in gold robe said again, "However, I want to know where the dragon phoenix blood in your body comes from." Before the old man's voice fell, Xiao Yang's face was surprised. Unexpectedly, he was recognized by the old man in gold robe after all. "What dragon phoenix's blood? I don't know what you mean. Hey, boy, don't pretend to be confused in front of me. In addition, I won't take it back if I say I won't take it back. I'm just curious about why you, a human, have the dragon phoenix blood of our family. This is not an ordinary thing. You should understand how important this thing is to our dragon family." In the end, the old man's face also showed a solemn color, Long Huang's blood, which is too important for the Taishu ancient dragon family, but now the power of this blood even appears in a human. Anyway, he must know the origin of this blood first, which may also become an opportunity for his Taishu ancient dragon family to flourish again. Hearing the old man's words, Xiao Yang relaxed his spirit again, but finally, he shook his head slowly in the old man's eyes and said, "I'm sorry, the dragon phoenix's blood is also. I just got lucky at an auction. No one recognized it at that time, and I happened to recognize it, so I bought it back, so." Xiao Yang helplessly spread his hands and looked sad. It seemed that he was powerless about it. Hearing that the dragon phoenix's blood came from the auction house, the old man couldn't help but look disappointed. Then he saw Xiao Yang's helpless face. What he said was the same as true. It seems that Xiao Yang really knows nothing about the specific origin of the dragon phoenix's blood in his body. However, when the old man in the golden robe looked at Xiao Yang, there was an extremely obscure flash in the depths of his eyes. Even with Xiao Yang's amazing insight, he had never found it. Alas. In that case, I won't embarrass you. If I can't find it, I can't find it. But before that, I still hope you can give me this little guy first and let me take him back. At the beginning of the conversation, the old man in gold robe once again focused his eyes on Xiao Jin. A pair of muddy old eyes were filled with a very firm look. Anyway, Xiao Jin was the purpose of his trip. First, regardless of Xiao Yang's blood, Xiao Jin, he had to take it away. Even Xiao Yang could not stop him. Hearing the old man's words, Xiao Yang frowned again, looked at Xiao Jin on his shoulder, then looked at the old man, couldn't help but ask. Master, Xiao Jin's essence is just Zhoushuan Jinlei. It seems that he has nothing to do with the Taishu ancient dragon family, but why do you have to take him away? The old man stroked his beard with one hand, nodded to Xiao Yang and said, You're right. His noumenon is just Zhoushuan Golden Thunder. He's not strong among all the thunder. However, he has 2 points that none of the other thunder in the world has. Xiao Yang raised his eyebrows and thought about something quickly in his heart. While Xiao Yang frowned and thought, the old man in golden robe spoke again and pointed out the maze for Xiao Yang, saying, The difference of this little guy is that there are also dragon phoenix blood in his body. Although there are not many, I can guess that it should be from you. Xiao Yang looked stunned and immediately figured this out. He had experienced many wars before. At that time, Xiao Yang didn't shed less blood. Maybe it was at that time that Xiao Jin accidentally swallowed the dragon phoenix blood in his body. However, this is just one of them. The old man in gold robe said that Xiao Jin is different from other thunder in 2 points. What is the second point? Seeing Xiao Yang's puzzled look on his face, the old man smiled and paused, but he didn't say the result directly. Instead, he smiled at Xiao Yang and asked, Boy, do you know what my Taishu ancient dragon family is best at? Hearing the problem that the ox's head was not right for the horse's mouth, Xiao Yang's face was stunned again. When he wanted to speak, Xiao Yang seemed to suddenly think of something. He looked up fiercely, looked at the old man in gold robe in surprise and said, I see. The elder said that Xiao Jin has the talent and ability of the Taishu ancient dragon family and can freely shuttle through the void. After the illusion of the old man in the golden robe, Xiao Yang suddenly understood. In addition, Xiao Jin did burst out a terrible speed that shocked the strong fighting emperor in order to save him. That speed is not a movement in theory, but a way of shuttling through space, similar to Xiao Yang's avenue of nothingness, and this, it is also the talent and ability of the Taishu ancient dragon family. Thinking of this, Xiao Yang immediately recalled the wisp of space with some wisdom swallowed by Xiao Jin when he just came to Yuanwu mainland. If he had to make a reasonable explanation for Xiao Jin's ability to cross the void, then this is the only point that can explain all the reasons. Well, yes, it's these 2 points, the power of blood, plus the talent and ability of my Taishu ancient dragon family. The combination of the two, plus his body belongs to Lei Long. This little guy is already a member of my dragon family, ha ha. While Xiao Yang frowned and thought, the old man smiled. The words in his mouth seemed quite satisfied with Xiao Jin's new identity, and his heart was full of joy. But when Xiao Yang heard this, he couldn't help but frown. No matter what changes took place in Xiao Jin's blood at the moment, or what ability he had, he was just Xiao Jin in Xiao Yang's eyes, not someone else who could determine his identity. The words of the old man in front of him seemed to make Xiao Yang angry again. Senior, in your eyes, maybe Xiao Jin is your clan, but in the eyes of younger generations, he is my relative. His identity can't be determined by your word. Xiao Yang frowned and whispered to the old man in gold robe. When the latter heard the speech, the look on his face was also slightly stunned. Then he laughed again and said to Xiao Yang, Ha ha, boy, your words are true, but now the blood of the dragon phoenix in this little guy's body has been integrated with his body. No matter what you say, he is still a member of my Taishu ancient dragon family. Of course, maybe he is an identity in your eyes, but in my eyes, he is another identity. This is not important, but what matters is this little guy's identity. The future will be unlimited. Xiao Yang's eyes were frozen, and he couldn't help feeling surprised at the old man's words. When the old man saw this, he smiled. Then he opened his mouth again and said with a smile, Hey, there are 10,000 dragon tombs in our dragon family. This is the place where people of our Taishu ancient dragon family bury after death. It contains the strongest dragon chi of our Taishu ancient dragon family. Using these dragon chi can stimulate the blood power of the dragon phoenix to the greatest extent, so as to quickly improve his cultivation speed. In addition, his body is Zhoushuan Golden Thunder. After he turns into a form, his cultivation speed is enough to stand at the peak of today's mainland. I believe that in less than 50 years, even the whole continent will have his place. Hearing the speech, Xiao Yan couldn't help feeling a sense of shame in his heart. 50 years, although it sounds like a long time, it's nothing in the eyes of their practitioners, especially the strong ones whose strength reaches their semi-emperor level. There is no time for cultivation. For ordinary semi-imperialist strong people, it may take 100 years to close the pass once, and this may not be able to greatly improve his strength. Therefore, it can be seen that a mere 50 years is nothing for semi-imperialist strong people. However, the mere 50 years that have not been seen by the semi-imperial strong men are enough to make Xiaojin become the supreme strongman of the mainland for a generation, which seems to be an opportunity for him. After all, if Xiaojin has been with Xiao Yang, even Xiao Yang can't guarantee the level of Xiaojin's strength in the next 50 years. I can't ignore Xiaojin's future for the sake of this so-called family affection. Alas! With this in mind, Xiao Yang couldn't help sighing. He turned his head and looked at Xiaojin on his shoulder. His eyes showed a look of reluctance. Boy, I understand you don't want him. If I guess well, he should be your only relative now. The old man's eyes narrowed, and a pair of golden pupils showed a wise light. Although he was unwilling to say, some things had already been seen through by him. Sometimes, maybe it was just a small object, which would expose his origin and identity. At the moment, Xiao Yang was just like this in the eyes of the old man in gold robe. Hearing the words of the old man in golden robe, Xiao Yang's face was surprised again. The old guy in front of him could guess this. While Xiao Yang was surprised, he couldn't help but have a doubt rising slowly from the bottom of his heart. But in the end, he frowned and nodded, staring at the old man in golden robe without saying much. I understand that you don't want him, but there is another point that you also need to understand. The old man sighed softly. His turbid old eyes stared at Xiao Yang and said again, "This little guy has great potential. When he grows up, no one will be his opponent in the whole continent. However, the premise is that he should grow up. You should understand what I mean." Xiao Yang nodded. Of course, he clearly understood the meaning in the words of the old man in gold robe. For Xiao Jin's cultivation talent, there is no need to prove it. As a Joshuan Golden Thunder, Heaven and Earth Care, his cultivation speed is only faster than ordinary people. Coupled with today's Longhuang blood, he can be regarded as half of the Taishu ancient dragon family. Under the blessing of his dual identity, Xiao Jin's future is unimaginable. Of course, Xiao Jin's starting point is very high on the road of cultivation, but if he can't keep the same in the process of cultivation, he will still have the risk of premature death. Especially now that Xiao Yang has all kinds of enemies and can't protect himself, if you continue to take Xiao Jin with you, in case Xiao Yang has an accident one day, Xiao Jin will never live again. Xiao Yang can't hurt himself and Xiao Jin. He can't do such a thing. Alas! He sighed again. Xiao Yang raised his head helplessly, looked up at the endless Chengyu above his head, and his heart was unwilling. Now it seems that he can only reluctantly send Xiao Jin away. Xiao Yang smiled bitterly and felt very melancholy in his heart. After all, I blame him for not having enough strength. Oh, power, power again. Xiao Yang's voice was hoarse, and he whispered in an extremely unwilling voice. Under his sleeve robe, a pair of white palms slowly clenched, and his whole body trembled. I hope you can be kind to Xiao Jin after you take him back. Otherwise, even if you are the Taishu Gulong family, I will make you pay a painful price. Believe me. After a long time, Xiao Yang slowly calmed his mood. He looked down and looked at the old man in gold robe. A pair of dark eyes were as deep as a pool of deep water. There was no expression on his face. Although his breath was flat, it was invisible, but it was frightening. At this moment, even the golden-robed old man's eyes could not help but coagulate suddenly, and the heart suddenly set off a storm. It's hard to imagine that a half-emperor, in such a weak situation, his invisible deterrent could move the super-strong at his level. The black-robed young man in front of him is by no means comparable to ordinary people. Okay, I can swear to prove this. With a loud cry, the old man in gold robe raised his palm and swore to heaven without saying a word. He looked solemn and shouted, I, Jin Lin, swear to heaven today that I will take Xiao Jin back to our family. I will devote all my efforts and do my best to teach him. I will never hurt him. If I break this oath, Tianlei will punish him. Boom! At the moment when Jin Lin's voice fell, on the originally sunny sky, there was a sudden roar of thunder, dark clouds rolled, and the whole sky changed color in an instant. Terrible thunder fell from the sky with an extreme sense of destruction. Under the threat of this terrible momentum, even Jin Lin couldn't help feeling cold. Looking at the terrible thunder falling from heaven and earth, Xiao Yang's heart was full of shock. This was the second time he saw the 9 heavenly god thunder, but even if he had seen it once, now he can't help but tremble. After a long time, when the roaring thunder between heaven and earth gradually subsided, the heavy thunder clouds covering the whole sky gradually dispersed. Finally, the whole heaven and earth regained the blue color again, the dark clouds dispersed and the sun scattered. The thunder clouds just now seemed to have never appeared. However, looking at Xiao Yang, he was still immersed in the mighty power just now and never quit. Cough. Boy, now, you should always believe me. A light cough awakened Xiao Yang from the shocking state. The look on Xiao Yang's cheek also changed with it. The heart had the spare power to look up at the blue sky. After a good moment, he calmed down. Turning back his eyes, Xiao Yang looked at the golden scale. Until now, Xiao Yang knew that the old man in golden robe in front of him was called Golden Scale. Who? Well, I'm afraid Xiao Jin will have to bother elder Jin Lin to take care of him in the future. Younger generation Xiao Yang, thank Xiao Jin here first. Since people all use thunder punishment vows to prove their intentions, Xiao Yang, a younger generation, naturally can't lose etiquette. Even if he bows and bows to Jin Lin, he says more respectfully. Although Xiao Jin will inevitably be sent out, if we can give him a good cultivation environment, find a good teacher and find someone who can really help him, Xiao Yang feels worthwhile even if he can't see the growth of the latter with his own eyes. After all, if Xiao Jin continues to follow him, Xiao Yang will only harm him. Just like that, it's better to let him practice well in the Taishu ancient dragon family. The big deal is that it's not too late to go back to him when his strength is successful in the future. Haha, Xiao Yang, okay, I wrote it down. It's very good. Don't worry, this little fellow, I'll guide you personally in the future. Don't be frightened when you see him next time. Ha ha ha. Jin Lin laughed boldly. He looked like an old grandfather who was going to have grandchildren. When he spoke, he had taken a big step towards Xiao Yang. Xiao Yang couldn't help smiling. Then he looked at Xiao Jin on his shoulder with a reluctant face. His eyes showed a look like a loving father. Although Xiao Jin's real age is more than hundreds of times that of Xiao Yang, now, Xiao Jin's intelligence is no more than that of human children. Xiao Jin has lived with Xiao Yang for more than 10 years. Xiao Yang has regarded him as his close relative for a long time, but now he wants to send him out. Although it's all for his good, Xiao Yang still feels a little sour. Hihi, I can't bear it. Alas. Human nature is helpless. Seeing this, Jin Lin shook his head and sighed helplessly. After a long time, Xiao Yang carefully held Xiao Jin wrapped in golden light with both hands, and slowly straightened his arms forward, with complex emotions in his heart. Jin Lin looked at Xiao Yang with both hands in front of him with half sorrow and half joy. Then he looked at Xiao Yang. He also couldn't bear it. He could imagine Xiao Yang's feelings for Xiao Jin in front of him, but he also knew that Xiao Yang had to do so for Xiao Jin. Xiao Yang, thank you. Suddenly, Jin Lin said such a word that solidified Xiao Yang's spirit. Then, in Xiao Yang's stiff hands, he also carefully took over Xiao Jin's body. Roar! Leaving Xiao Yang's palm, Xiao Jin seemed to feel something. He suddenly woke up in a deep sleep. When he looked up, it was not Xiao Yang's face that came into his eyes. Xiao Jin was stunned. Then he twisted his body violently and struggled to turn around. Then he saw Xiao Yang. His body moved and wanted to return to Xiao Yang's rigid hands. Go! Seeing Xiao Jin struggling, Xiao Yang's eyes suddenly turned red, but in the end, he forced himself to hold back. He collided with each other and squeezed out 2 words. When he said this, Xiao Yang's lips couldn't help shaking. Roar! Hearing Xiao Yang's words, Xiao Jin's struggling body was a meal at the moment. Even with his scarlet eyes, he suddenly raised his head to the sky to make a startling dragon sing. The dragon sing was mighty and powerful. After hearing it, all warcraft within 1,000 miles were afraid to crawl in the direction of Xiao Jin. At the same time, the little gold between the gold scale's hands, like a snake, expanded again. In a twinkling of an eye, it had turned into a giant dragon and got rid of the gold scale's hands. Once again, he turned into a giant dragon. Even if Xiao Jin turned his body, the huge dragon tail swung fiercely at Jin. In Xiao Jin's opinion, Xiao Yang would never give him away without the bullying of Jin's scale in front of him. In the face of Xiao Jin's all-out blow, Jin Lin couldn't help frowning slightly. Unexpectedly, Xiao Jin could do this for Xiao Yang. I have to say that the love between them is really heavy. However, the moment before Xiao Jin's dragon tail wanted to smash on Jin's scale, Xiao Yang's cry came suddenly, which forced Xiao Jin's action to be stopped. Xiao Jin, stop it. With Xiao Yang's voice falling down, Xiao Jin's huge body suddenly solidified. Facing the dragon tail falling hard against the golden scale, he also forcibly stopped it in the void. Only a strong wind fell. When he came to the void a foot in front of the golden scale, he dispersed by himself. Looking at Xiao Jin in front of him, Xiao Yang's face showed a stern look. A palm slowly spread out in the void in front of him. Xiao Yang stared at Xiao Jin and said nothing. Roar! In an unwilling low roar, Xiao Jin helplessly drooped his head. With the golden light dispersed, Xiao Jin turned into a snake-like shape again and fell on Xiao Yang's palm. A pair of exquisite eyes asked Chu Baba to look at Xiao Yang. Alas! With a helpless sigh, Xiao Yang sent Xiao Jin to Jin Lin's hand again. This time, Xiao Yang didn't hesitate at all, and Xiao Jin also stared at Xiao Yang's stern eyes and didn't move. He spread out in Jin Lin's palms without a sound. Alas! With another sigh, Xiao Yang took back his palm and faced Xiao Jin. His throat rolled slightly and said, Xiao Jin, it's not that people force you to obey, nor that I don't want to keep you around. It's just that it won't be good for you or me to stay with me. I have my way to go, and you should also have your own world. If you continue to follow me, it will only limit your growth. Go to the dragon family with Master Jinlin, compared with me, only there is more suitable for you. Woo woo. A low sob came from Xiao Jin's nose, and a trace of tears flowed down Xiao Jin's eyes at this moment. Xiao Jin hovered over the sky and wanted to return to Xiao Yang's side again, but in the end, he returned to the palms of Jin Lin again under the package of Xiao Yang's strange fire. That's the strange fire condensed by Xiao Yang with all the fighting spirit in his body at the moment. If Xiao Jin dares to blow away, Xiao Yang will be hurt. Therefore, even if he knows that Xiao Yang did it deliberately, Xiao Jin can only reluctantly return to Jin Lin's side. Go, don't worry. When you have enough strength, we will meet. Before that, we'd better practice hard. When the voice fell, Xiao Yang suddenly turned around and flew away towards the distant sky without looking back. After Xiao Yang's figure gradually disappeared in the eyes of Jin Lin and Xiao Jin, the strange fire wrapped around Xiao Jin's body suddenly dispersed. At the moment when the strange fire dispersed, Xiao Jin changed his body shape again and wanted to catch up with Xiao Yang. Save it. He asked you to stay. It's really for your own good. It's too late for you to catch up now. Roar. Suddenly, Xiao Jin turned around, and a dragon roar like an angry wave came out, and the void became distorted at the moment. Just like Xiao Yang said, if you want to see him again, take out your strength. Before that, even if you roar your throat, you can't see him. In this regard, the gold scale was a faint sentence. Then he turned around and slowly flew away in the opposite direction of Xiao Yang. Unexpectedly, even Xiao Jin was no longer in charge. If you want to see him again, follow me. If you don't want to, go and find him. The voice fell, but the speed of gold scale's flight was suddenly accelerated. In the twinkling of an eye, it had flown thousands of feet away. Seeing this, Xiao Jin couldn't help hesitating. He looked at the direction Xiao Yang left. As soon as he moved, he wanted to catch up, but the next moment, he stopped. What Xiao Yangang just said was echoed in his mind. When his head turned and looked at Jin's scale, he found that the latter had reached the end of his sight. If he didn't catch up again, I'm afraid I can't catch up if it's true. Roar. With a roar, Xiao Jin looked at the direction of Xiao Yang's departure again. Then, he suddenly turned around and quickly swept in the direction of Jin's scale. It is night, and the whole world is covered with black tulle. Over the dark sky, you can vaguely see a dense thunder cloud. From time to time, there will be thunder flashes, which will briefly illuminate the vast mountains and forests below. Soon afterwards, there will be a rumbling thunder, just like the roar of Warcraft, roaring in the sky. Under this thunder, even some low-level Warcraft in the forest of Xiaofeng Mountain can't help but be afraid. In addition, between heaven and earth, there is a dark wind, sweeping over the forest sea like the nether world, bringing up strange waves like smiling faces, making this dark world even more frightening. At this moment, in the mountains and forests below, there are two people sitting in front of the fire in a fiery open space. The light of the fire beat like a monkey. The light of the fire shone on Xiao Yang's and Jiuyu's faces, and lit up the earth within a few feet around them. The atmosphere was a little quiet. Even at this moment, Xiao Yang was still thinking about Xiao Jin's appearance before she was taken away by the gold scale. His eyes showed a deep color of reluctance. In this Yuanwu continent, Xiao Yang is only left with Xiao Jin, except for Xiao Xian who has not been resurrected. But now Xiao Xian's ancestors are still far away from real resurrection, and Xiao Jin is also taken away at this time, which shows that Xiao Yang will be alone in the next road. Jiyu Lao, is it really right for me to send Xiao Jin out? Xiao Yang looks sad. He doesn't worry about facing danger alone. He has experienced a lot of such things. There's no need to worry. After all, he came all the way alone. He only worried about whether the golden scale was really trustworthy. Even with the balance of Thunder Punishment Oath, the golden scale was still a stranger to Xiao Yang. Who would easily believe the words of strangers? Hehe, Xiao Yang, I don't have much to say, but you can rest assured about the Thunder Punishment Oath. Even if he has any evil thoughts, he can't do it. As for the Taishu ancient dragon family, although I haven't been in contact with it, I can tell you roughly that in addition to a very small number of people, there are others in the Taishu ancient dragon family. You should believe that sex is very good. Hearing Xiao Yang's words, Guyo didn't clearly explain whether it was right or wrong to send Xiao Jin. She just told Xiao Yang that the Taishu ancient dragon family was very good. As for how he chose, it was Xiao Yang himself. Alas. I hope so. Hearing the speech, Xiao Yang sighed low, and his heart was full of unwilling. Boy, don't forget what you said. Didn't you send that little guy away in order to be able to face the 4 major doors wholeheartedly? Your gratitude and resentment with the 4 major doors should be solved by yourself. Only by sending Xiao Jin away can he avoid being affected. He always has to go. Why don't you hold on to one thing? Bone Yu denounced and said to Xiao Yang in a stern tone. Old Bone. Xiao Yang's throat rolled and his voice was dry. Jiyu Yu nodded and continued. All right, don't think so much. First recover the injury in your body. When you recover, I have something to tell you. Jiyu Yu said a word faintly. Even if he didn't pay attention to Xiao Yang, he stood up, turned and flew up against the dark night sky, stood under the dark night. Jiyu Yu looked at the rolling thunderclouds above his head, and his old face showed a look of dissatisfaction. Cut, it's all because of the bad weather. The boy is still worried until now. Let me disperse. Suddenly he shouted and scolded. With a wave of Guyo's big hand, a heavy white energy burst out in time, just like a thunder and lightning. In a twinkling, it had disappeared into the thunder clouds over the sky. Boom! Immediately after that, the thunder clouds in the sky suddenly rolled violently. After a moment, the dense thunder clouds in the sky swept away and dissipated. The thunder clouds dispersed. In the night sky, the bright moon rose and the stars rose everywhere. The brilliance of heaven and earth fell on Xiao Yang, who was crossing his legs to refine the pill in his body. Even the red and yellow fire light was covered at this moment. How can the light of fireflies compete with the bright moon? In a twinkling of an eye, Xiao Yang has been sitting in front of the extinguished fire for 10 days. In these 10 days, Xiao Yang has refined no less than 5 imperial pills, and it is until now that all the injuries in Xiao Yang's body have recovered. Who? Feeling the full fighting spirit in his body, Xiao Yang shook his palm, and then stood up from the ground. When his body twisted left and right, a crackling sound of bone collision suddenly came out from all over Xiao Yang's body, which made Xiao Yang look up to the sky and breathe a sigh of relief. He really hadn't felt it for a long time. Suddenly, Xiao Yang clenched his palms fiercely into a fist, waved his fists together, and issued a set of skilled fist techniques. Although Xiao Yang did not use fighting spirit, his terrible physical cultivation also distorted the void in front of him. Invisible airshells immediately condensed and formed at the moment of Xiao Yang's fist, and then followed, with a terrible strong wind, he mercilessly smashed a huge stone 10 feet away from Xiao Yang. During the shooting of stone debris, the dust and fog were flying all over the sky. At the same time, the violent sound of explosion was also spread among the mountains and forests, which made many low-level warcraft turn pale and flee quickly. For a moment, within 100 feet of the open space where Xiao Yang was located, it became a commotion, and all the birds inhabiting in the forest flew up and down to the sky like frightened birds. Looking at the noise caused by his body just moving, Xiao Yang felt helpless. He turned his mouth and took back his palm angrily. Then he turned his eyes and looked at the sky in the due east direction, which was the direction Jin Lin took Xiao Jin 10 days ago. Who? Deeply exhale the turbid air in his chest and raise his head. Xiao Yang looks at the sky above. In the high altitude, Jiyu Yu is standing in the sky. Under the sun, you can only see a dark shadow vaguely, but you can't see its face clearly. He, recovered? When laughter came, Xiao Yang nodded. As soon as the soles of his feet stepped on the ground, his body swept over the sky and stood in front of Jiyu Yu. Now that you've recovered, let's go. Jiyu Yu looked at Xiao Yang, whose breath recovered in front of him, and smiled, then turned into a streamer and disappeared into Xiao Yang's body. Jiyu Lao, Didn't you say something to tell me that day? Why? Hihi, let's go first. Maybe it's in a hurry. In a few days, I'll tell you when the time comes. Xiao Yang's voice didn't fall, but you had expected it long ago. He interrupted Xiao Yang's words. The light smile had a different meaning, which made Xiao Yang suspicious, but it was difficult to guess. In desperation, Xiao Yang had to shrug his shoulders, turn his head again and look at the distant sky behind him. He immediately turned around and looked to the southwest, where the Shilin Mountains are. The vast area of Shilin seems to exceed Xiao Yang's expectation. He thought it would not take him a day or two to reach Shilin mountain range at his own speed, but in fact, Xiao Yang took 5 days to see the outline of a towering mountain range from a distance. It was not until this time that Xiao Yang really understood the vastness of Yuanwu continent. Here, it is by no means comparable to the mainland. You know, with Xiao Yang's strength, if he continues to fly, he can fly thousands of miles a day. At such a terrible speed, Xiao Yang's speed has still flown for 5 days. It's hard to imagine how vast the western regions are, and most importantly, it's not just the periphery of the western regions, let alone how vast the Yuanwu continent is. A glimpse of the leopard can be seen. Who? Is this the Shilin mountain range? Look at the area of the mountain range. It's really magnificent. In the void, Xiao Yang looked at the rolling mountains in front of him, and his eyes looked a little amazed. He couldn't help sighing in a low voice. At this moment, in front of Xiao Yang, a vast mountain range that can't see the edge is crawling in front of Xiao Yang like a sleeping beast. In front of this mountain range, even with Xiao Yang's eyesight, you can't see the end of the mountain range. Therefore, how vast this mountain range is. The rugged mountains rise and fall. At this time alone, a mountain peak in front of Xiao Yang has reached hundreds of feet, and there is no need to say more about the continuous mountains behind. Under the exploration of Xiao Yang's soul power at the moment, just close to the periphery of the mountain, he has detected no less than 10.5 breath of the powerful emperor. 7 of them are human, and the other 3, although they have turned into human form, Xiao Yang can detect the violent spirit on them, which is the unique breath of Warcraft. Tut, compared with the southern region, it seems to be much more lively here. Just outside, there are semi-emperors and strong people sitting in the town. It's hard to imagine what the scenery is in the depths of the Shilin Mountains. Looking at the mountains below, Xiao Yang couldn't help but marvel. In his dark eyes, he couldn't help showing a hot look. The surging war spirit in his heart surged up at this moment. At this moment, Xiao Yang seemed to return to his days in the Warcraft Mountains when fighting the mainland. The palm under the sleeve robe stretched out slowly and shook it casually in the void. After a while, the brilliance flashed. The black Xian heavy ruler emerged inch by inch under Xiao Yang's palm. Until the heavy ruler completely appeared in the void, Xiao Yang turned his wrist, raised his arm, and carried the Xian heavy ruler on his back again. The familiar scene of that year came again. Who? With a long breath, Xiao Yang moved and flew away towards the mountains below. A moment later, Xiao Yang appeared in a small town called Sangmu Town, which is the only human gathering place outside the Shilin Mountains, and at the same time, it is also the most lively place. Here, the most sold is naturally the demon core of Warcraft in the Shilin Mountains. This is the way these people operate. In addition, there are some pills for healing. What's more, Xiao Yang also found that there are still some grapevine news sold here. What attracts Xiao Yang's attention most is that there are many kinds of news about himself. This discovery surprised Xiao Yang. Walking in the slightly crowded crowd, Xiao Yang solved several golden fingers in the crowd from time to time. Finally, he stood in front of a brightly decorated shop and looked up at the 3 words full of incomparable arrogance on the shop plaque. Xiao Yang couldn't help but pick a little. I have to say that the name of the shop is really not ordinary arrogance. Oh, Tongtian Pavilion, I don't know if you really have the ability to connect to heaven like your name. Standing in front of Tongtian Pavilion, Xiao Yang looked at the 3 flying characters on the plaque with a playful smile and sneered in his heart. With a slight smile, Xiao Yang raised his feet and went to the so-called Tongtian Pavilion in front of him. When Xiao Yang stepped into the Tongtian Pavilion, a cool temperature rushed towards Xiao Yang. At the same time, there was a faint fragrance in the cool air, which made people feel refreshed. After Xiao Yang entered the pavilion, even though he met many people, it seemed that Tongtian Pavilion was quite popular. Under the exploration of Xiao Yang's soul, except for a small number of mercenaries and a few people, most of the people in the field brought news about him, which surprised Xiao Yang. What surprised Xiao Yang most was that there were more than 10 kinds of news about him in Tongtian Pavilion. Color. The 10 kinds of news are like 10 Xiao Yang, or seriously injured, or disabled, or where to spend their time and drink, or even become slaves of witch power. Of course, these news are only vague. Unless they are really bought with spirit coins, the people in Tongtian Pavilion will not say half a word more about the specific situation of this news. When these news came into Xiao Yang's ears, it made Xiao Yang Dun feel an eye-opener. I really don't know whether the so-called self in these news was because of the same name or because it was fabricated indiscriminately. Of course, 9 out of 10 people would not believe this news. After all, the battle between Xiao Yang and 4 powerful emperors 6 months ago made all people in the western regions understand Xiao Yang's strength, but even so, many people are still fighting for Xiao Yang's news in the field at the moment. Not to mention anything else, in the field at the moment, especially a news about Xiao Yang's current location. At the moment, 3 semi-imperial strong men are angry at each other, and even have put down cruel words related to their lives. As for the authenticity of the news, Xiao Yang ignores it. At the moment, others are here. If the people of Tongtian Pavilion really knew him, they should have done something. Looking at this situation, they obviously didn't realize it. Naturally, there is no need to say more about the true and false degree of the news. Of course, if it was in the hearts of the 3 semi-imperialist strong men in the field at the moment, it is the most likely news now. However, while Xiao Yang was concentrating on observing the situation in the field, a young man dressed in the waiter's clothes of Tongtian Pavilion trotted to Xiao Yang with a slightly obscene figure, smiled and said, Hey, little brother, are you here to buy news too? Hey, I don't know what news you want. If it's about Xiao Yang, it's a coincidence. I happen to have a new one here. Oh no, the newly found news. If you like, hey, brother, I think you look familiar. Otherwise, I'll sell it for only 50,000 lincoin. Here you are, okay? The obscene young man looked at Xiao Yang with a smile. While laughing, he also shook his eyebrows at Xiao Yang. There was a greedy color in his pupils. Hearing the speech, Xiao Yang also immediately regained his mind. At the first sight of the obscene youth in front of him, he looked at the latter with a stunned face and looked left and right. There was no other person. Then he looked at the obscene youth again with an embarrassed smile. He pointed to himself with a finger deep in his heart. His tone was quite embarrassed and said, are you talking to me? Hey, how about it? Do you want it? This news is a hot commodity now. If you don't want it, I'll sell it to others. For Xiao Yang's strange behavior, the obscene youth didn't find anything. Instead, he shook his sexy eyebrows again, and said in an extremely obscene tone, Well. Xiao Yang's face solidified slowly, the muscles at the corners of his mouth twitched slightly, his eyebrows wrinkled slightly, and his heart was full of laughter and laughter. Hee hee. This video will end here.